So let's bring Stephanie Haney back in with this, because this has got a lot of folks talking as, you know, we dealt with the Southwest meltdown, and there have been other cascading problems here and there. It's a very computerized business and industry, but boy, our travelers are the ones who are left holding the bag.
You know, you talk about them beefing up those policies. Southwest recently changed theirs. I just happened to know this because we had issues on Southwest. Now they don't let their credits expire. So that's something. I hadn't connected those two things. So just wanted to share that there. But a lot of people out there about this issue, very skeptical. People were not very optimistic about how this will shake out for travelers. And that's what we saw when we asked, how would you like to see customers compensated for flight issues? So our first comment comes from George. He might be the only optimistic one. He wants a full flight refund and one free drink for every hour the flight is delayed. I think,
oh, that could make for crazy flights.
That would speed up those delays, I think. They'd be like, get out of here. Okay, Mark isn't looking for money. He just wants an answer about what's happening with air travel lately. He's feeling like the number of delays that we're seeing just don't make sense and could be avoided, and really wants to know why that's happening. Now, Donna Lee had an interesting take on this, our next respondent on the WKYC Facebook page. We're not seeing that post right there, but she said that she thinks that this is government overreach. Now, if we go to the 3 What's New Facebook group, we hear from Bill, who brings it back to the question. He says, we want ground transportation to any hotel or restaurant in the event of a cancellation or a delay. And then Tony Schaefer says, if this happens, she thinks that the airlines will actually just raise ticket prices, so she's actually not sure this will be good for customers in the long run to kind of offset the price when things go wrong. We got one more comment from Jeffrey Souter, who says that he believes there might be loopholes and exceptions so as to avoid paying. And obviously, you know, you want to be fair to the airlines and the people. But I'm thinking, for me, it's about consequences. You know, if you miss a connection or something like that, that's much more different than if you can just get to your destination a little later, as long as you're not missing that special event. I think that's something to take into consideration.
Yeah, I think the delay duration plays into this big time. You know, if you miss a connection because something is delayed 20 minutes, well, you know what? You chose probably too tight of a connection.
That's
and
true.
That happens a lot as people are trying to get to where they want to go. But if it's, you know, the airline comes out and says, well, the crew just timed out. That's the one that kills me every time.
And they just found out about this?
Yeah, this was not a surprise.
They knew that was coming.
So now you have to wait on the next flight, and that's the one that kicks you out. Then that's a whole nother level of stuff. I think there are exceptions to this overall rule of, you know, if I don't get where I'm going at 3:55 p.m., I deserve to be compensated.
There are circumstances. So I've heard of people in the last year that have missed weddings, and also, this is heartbreaking, funerals of loved ones. Like, so when you start thinking about the ramifications of some of these cancellations, you know, I don't even know that there's enough money to compensate fairly someone for missing the funeral of a loved one or the wedding of a loved one or all these big events that we're all traveling around the country to see. I think transparency is important. I don't think so often, how many times have you sat at an airport and you're completely in the dark?
Right.
You know, oh, we moved it back an hour, another hour. That's a dead giveaway to me that if they're moving to cancellation, oftentimes it leads to that. I just hope that the industry in general becomes more responsible and understands that we're the customers that make it possible for them to exist and treat us as such. Sometimes I don't feel like they do.
And overselling flights, that gets me too. Like, I bought a ticket for this plane. What is happening?
The very concept of that should be, they should start there. Can't do that. Whatever the loss is, build that into your cost of doing business. Thanks, Steph.